Could Satou Sabally join Caitlin Clark on the Indiana Fever? This could be the biggest WNBA story of the offseason, and the digital clues Sabally has been leaving suggest it's more than just speculation. Recently, the Indiana Fever said goodbye to Fagbenle, one of their key players early in the season. While this may seem like a typical off-season move, it could be setting the stage for something massive. Satou Sabally, the Dallas Wings all-star forward, has made it clear she's a free agent and has been subtly hinting at her interest in joining the Fever. From strategically liking social media posts to engaging with content about teaming up with Caitlin Clark, Sabally's actions are speaking volumes.
So she's come out and said she's a free agent, and then Overtime said Satou teaming up with Caitlin, kinda here for that narrative.
On Instagram, Sabally has been particularly active. After announcing her free agency, she began liking posts about the Fever and their potential super team with Caitlin Clark. What's notable is her complete lack of engagement with posts from fans of other teams, including vocal Chicago Sky supporters. This is calculated. Sabally has even liked fan-created graphics showing her in a Fever jersey, something rare in a league where players typically avoid tampering speculation. This isn't just random behavior. The timing and pattern of her activities suggest intent. After the college season began and Caitlin Clark started dominating headlines, Sabally's engagement with Indiana-related content escalated. It's clear she's intrigued by what the Fever are building. Why does this matter? The Fever are at a pivotal moment. They have Aaliyah Boston, who had a historic season, and of course, we all know what Caitlin Clark has been up to. But they still need a veteran superstar to complete the picture. Sabally, at 6 feet 4 inches with guard-like skills, could be the missing piece. Last season, Sabally averaged nearly 19 points and 8.5 rebounds per game. She's a versatile forward who can stretch the floor, defend multiple positions, and dominate in the paint. Pairing her with Boston and Clark would create a lineup that's not just competitive, but potentially dominant for years. And let's not forget Kelsey Mitchell, a proven scorer who would thrive with defenses unable to focus solely on her. But how could the Fever actually get Sabally? The Wings could use the core designation to retain her rights, similar to the franchise tag in other sports. However, history shows that forcing players to stay often backfires. Elena Delle Donne and Diana Taurasi both pushed their way to preferred destinations despite being cored. A sign and trade deal might be the best solution for all parties. A likely trade package could include Nalissa Smith, the 8th pick in the upcoming draft, and a future first-round pick. Smith is a promising young forward with significant upside, and the draft pick would allow Dallas to add more young talent. For the Fever, giving up these assets is worth it to secure a proven superstar like Sabally. This potential move isn't just about the Fever, it's about the league. With super teams already established in New York and Las Vegas, the WNBA needs another team to balance the competitive landscape. Adding Sabally to a young core led by Boston and Clark could make Indiana that team. It would also shift the narrative around Indiana as a free agent destination, turning them into one of the most exciting franchises in the league. The timing is perfect for both Sabally and the Fever. At 25 years old, Sabally is entering her prime. The Fever have cap space to offer a max contract without compromising their roster, thanks to their young core still being on rookie deals. Bringing in Sabally would solidify their transformation from a rebuilding team to a legitimate contender. This move could also have a ripple effect beyond basketball. The Fever would instantly become one of the most marketable teams in the league, drawing attention to a smaller market and contributing to the WNBA's growth. Sabally joining forces with Clark and Boston wouldn't just create a team, it would create a dynasty capable of dominating the league for years to come. Here's a story you might not hear much about. but it says a lot about the state of the WNBA and the dynamics within its teams. Just recently, Temi Fagbenle, a talented forward and seasoned international player, was released by the Indiana Fever. On paper, it might look like just another roster change, but the reasons behind her departure and the treatment she endured paint a much more complicated picture. Temi always had a strong bond with Caitlin Clark during her time with the team, but rumors have long swirled about Nalissa Smith's alleged mistreatment of both players. Could this be the real reason behind Temi's departure? To understand the full story, we need to dig deeper into how it all unfolded. Let's start with her history. Temi Fagbenle isn't just any player. Born in Baltimore, raised in the UK, and a Harvard graduate, she's had a storied career both on and off the court. Internationally, she's represented Great Britain with distinction, even leading her national team to historic finishes in European competition. In the WNBA, she's been a reliable presence, known for her versatility, defense, and ability to contribute in key moments. She's played for the Minnesota Lynx in the past, where she won a championship in 2017 and brought that same winning mentality to the Fever. So why was she released? Officially, the team cited roster constraints and the need to focus on rebuilding around younger talent. The Fever have been in a long, frustrating rebuild phase, and Fagbenle's veteran status likely made her a target. But there's more to it. According to reports, her relationship with the team had been strained for months, partly because of tensions with younger star Nalissa Smith. Now, Nalissa Smith is one of the Fever's rising stars. Drafted second overall in 2022, she has quickly become a key player for the franchise. But according to insiders, Smith didn't exactly make Fagbenle's time on the team easy. Sources close to the team have alleged instances where Smith undermined Fagbenle during practices, criticized her play openly, and even made dismissive comments about her veteran leadership. While Smith's star power has certainly helped the Fever on the court, it's clear her influence off the court may have contributed to Fagbenle's release. Fagbenle, for her part, has remained professional throughout the situation. In her limited statements, she's expressed gratitude for her time with the Fever and her teammates, but those who followed her career know that she's never been one to cause drama or create division. The fact that she found herself pushed out of the team says more about the Fever's internal dynamics than it does about her abilities or attitude. The bigger question here is whether the Fever made the right call. By letting go of a veteran like Fagbenle, they're doubling down on their youth movement. But at what cost? Veteran players like her bring leadership, stability, and experience, qualities that are often undervalued in a league like the WNBA, which already struggles with retaining its stars and fostering strong team cultures. As for Fagbenle's future, it's uncertain. She has plenty of options overseas, where she's already proven herself as a top player in Europe, and there's no doubt she'll continue to thrive. But her exit from the Fever is a stark reminder of the challenges faced by veteran players in the WNBA, especially when team dynamics and internal politics come into play. In the end, the release of Temi Fagbenle isn't just about roster changes. It's a story about a league still figuring out how to balance youth and experience, talent and leadership. And for Fagbenle, it's a chapter that closes with more questions than answers.
Asia Wilson 1, Nafisa Collier 2, Sabrina Ionescu 3, Brianna Stewart 4, Alyssa Thomas 5, and honorable mentions, Caitlin Clark.
Did you catch the latest WNBA bombshell? Caitlin Clark, the rookie powerhouse who's been dominating the courts and shattering records all season, has been shockingly left out of the top MVP conversation. But here's where it gets even more explosive. Asia Wilson, the current MVP, is furious. Why? Because fans and analysts are increasingly saying that Clark's incredible performance deserves the MVP title more than her. How did Clark, with her standout stats and game-changing impact, get sidelined like this? The controversy is igniting intense debates across the basketball community.
She is leading the WNBA in points generated, which means points scored and or points assisted on. She is leading the league by a significant margin, and she is doing this as a rookie with a Fever team that is not comprised of a bunch of all-stars.
Let's dive into the MVP rankings that are making big waves in the WNBA. Leading the pack is A'ja Wilson, confidently holding the top spot.
There's no debating it. If you even talk about MVP, you have to be like, well, of course A'ja Wilson's running away with it. Like, you cannot even have any kind of constructive conversation around MVP unless you preface it by saying, well, I already know that A'ja Wilson won. Like, that's the standard.
Coming in hot at number 2 is Napheesa Collier from the Minnesota Lynx. Every time she steps onto the court, she takes full command of the game, leaving a massive impact on both her team and the opposition. Quiet yet lethal, Collier consistently asserts her dominance, making it impossible to ignore her formidable presence.
And Napheesa can take over the game at any point in time. We've seen her do this on multiple occasions.
Sabrina Ionescu is stubbornly holding on to the 3rd spot, even though some argue she doesn't quite deserve it. Behind her, Breanna Stewart and Alyssa Thomas secure their places in the top 5. But here's the real surprise. Where is Caitlin Clark? The rookie sensation who's been setting the league ablaze with her incredible performances is completely absent from the top 5. Unbelievable, right?
Getting to the honorable mention, they have Caitlin Clark.
You might think there's been a mix-up, but nope, that's exactly how the MVP rankings stand today. Their website even spotlighted Caitlin Clark with this statement.
While the Fever underwent understandable woes in the first month of the season, Indiana is 14-6 over their last 20 games, including 2 massive wins coming out of the All-Star break. Clark has found a synergy with her teammates and elite comfort on the floor as a facilitator and creator. She's knocking on the door of first-team All-W and top 5 finish in MVP voting.
Did you hear that? Caitlin Clark is just knocking on the MVP door? Not quite. Clark isn't merely knocking, she should already have a seat at the top. In fact, Caitlin Clark undeniably deserves a spot in the top 3 MVP contenders, alongside A'ja Wilson and Napheesa Collier, and the numbers leave no room for doubt.
Look at their stats. A'ja wipes the floor with both of them. The only categories that she doesn't have are assists, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. Caitlin has all of those. She is tied for steals with Napheesa.
Let's be honest, A'ja Wilson was outstanding, no doubt. But rookie Caitlin Clark has outshined her in crucial areas like assists, free throw percentages, and 3-pointers, even setting the assist record. Clark's on-court impact is undeniable, proving she's anything but average. So why is she being overlooked? It's got everyone puzzled. Some say it's because she's a rookie and the league prefers established stars. Others argue that individual stats don't capture the whole picture. This snub hasn't gone unnoticed. The debate is heating up, with voices like Rachel Demita criticizing the WNBA's MVP selection process. Demita points out that every time Clark elevates her game, the bar for her recognition keeps rising, making it harder for her to secure the MVP title she clearly deserves. Historically, only one rookie, Candace Parker in 2008, has ever won the MVP award. It feels like there's an unwritten rule against first-year players being the most valuable. But why? Are rookies seen as too inexperienced, or is there a bias towards veterans? Clark is challenging this by excelling not just as a rookie, but across multiple facets of the game. As Skip Bayless put it, nobody in the league can flick logo threes as effortlessly as Caitlin can. Clark is now pushing A'ja Wilson for the MVP crown with her exceptional ability to control the game. While Wilson has secured back-to-back championships with a star-studded team, Clark is transforming the Indiana Fever. Before the All-Star break, the Fever were struggling with a 13-27 record. After the break, they flipped the script with a 14-6 run, thanks to Clark's leadership and stellar performances. She's not just scoring, she's elevating her entire team, leading them to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. When comparing Clark to Candace Parker, Clark is already surpassing Parker's rookie stats in assists, steals, three-pointers, and free throw percentage. Her all-around game is setting new standards, proving she's a game changer. Her impact on the Fever is clear, turning a struggling team into one of the league's hottest. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson shines on a team loaded with Team USA players and multiple All-Stars, making her achievements impressive but also supported by a strong roster. In contrast, Clark excels without the same level of star support, highlighting her individual value. The MVP debate in the WNBA is intensifying. Should the award go to the player with the best stats, the one who drives their team's success, or the one who's revolutionizing the game? Clark's season is forcing us to rethink traditional MVP criteria, blending individual excellence with transformative team impact. Caitlin Clark's rise is more than a rookie story, it's a revolution in the WNBA. As she continues to dominate and elevate her team, the question remains, is it time to break down old barriers and recognize the true value players like Clark bring to the league? The MVP conversation isn't over, and Clark is right at the center, challenging us to redefine what it means to be the most valuable player. What do you think? Should the MVP go to the player with the best stats, the one who boosts their team's success, or the one who's redefining the game?
The reality is that, as from a marketing perspective, Caitlin Clark is worth more than almost any pro basketball player in the world. If we're like purely talking about giving the money for endorsement deals.
Today, we're diving into the real story behind Caitlin Clark's wealth. Her WNBA salary? Just the tip of the iceberg. Discover how she's cashing in big with speaking gigs that outpace her on-court earnings. The game-changing impact of her endorsements with State Farm and Wilson, and why her Nike deal could spark some serious drama. Let's break it all down.
Which was mental. Which was absolutely mental.
Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Caitlin Clark is poised to become the next powerhouse in sports marketing, and why some top brands might be kicking themselves for not jumping on board sooner.
Higher than the NBA. So I was like, oh, what's she gonna get paid? Because finally, you can get a real paycheck. And then I saw it and I was like, this can't be right. Because this is what it is. In the first year, Caitlin Clark will earn $76,535.
Can you believe that Caitlin Clark, the basketball sensation electrifying the courts, is set to earn a mere $76,535 in her rookie WNBA season? That's less than many entry-level office positions. When compared to NBA salaries, the disparity is glaring, leading many to argue that players like Clark are being undervalued by the league. However, this modest salary doesn't tell the whole story. Let's explore why Clark isn't losing sleep over her WNBA paycheck. While $70,000 might not scream superstar salary, it's actually just the beginning of Caitlin Clark's financial story. Here's the twist. The WNBA isn't just a paycheck, it's her secret weapon. The league offers something far more valuable than money: visibility. Think about it. Every time Clark steps onto the court, millions tune in. Her games dominate national broadcasts. Her highlight reels flood social media, and her name is on everyone's radar. This kind of exposure is a goldmine for marketing opportunities, turning her platform into a multi-million-dollar springboard.
Like, whatever really happens with Caitlin Clark, I would say her big thing is to be ready for the WNBA season. And people are like, why? She's only making $70,000 in the WNBA. What is the point of her worrying about that league rather than trying to push for other leagues and other ways of making more money? Because the WNBA is what's getting the most eyes.
Think about it. When Caitlin Clark sinks a deep three-pointer or threads an impossible pass, you're witnessing more than just incredible basketball. You're watching a brand come to life. Every crossover, every jaw-dropping assist, every buzzer beater isn't just a highlight. It's another opportunity for Clark to show the world her magic. And trust me, the world is paying attention. So, how is Clark turning all this visibility into cash? That's where it gets really exciting. Her modest WNBA salary is just the beginning, opening the floodgates to a slew of opportunities off the court. We're talking about endorsement deals, speaking gigs, and partnerships that could eclipse her league earnings many times over. And then there's the game changer, the Unrivaled League.
And it has also been reported that Unrivaled 3-on-3 League offered Caitlin Clark significant equity in the league and a salary that is over $1 million. So this is the first time that we've heard of any money being thrown at her. We've heard that it would be a major deal. It would be a similar setup as to what Messi got.
You've probably heard the buzz. Some people are saying Clark should ditch the WNBA and join Unrivaled, where she could be raking in millions from the start. But here's the kicker. Clark turned it down. Clark's playing the long game here. Sure, Unrivaled might offer a fatter paycheck right out of the gate, but the WNBA provides something Unrivaled can't touch yet. A proven platform with a loyal fan base and major media deals that guarantee her visibility on a national scale. So, next time someone complains about Caitlin Clark's $70,000 WNBA salary, remember this. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Clark isn't just dominating the court, she's rewriting the playbook on how athletes build their brands. And trust me, this is only the beginning of what she's capable of. Clark's most valuable skill might not even be her basketball prowess, it's her ability to talk. But we're not talking about post-game interviews. No, Clark is raking in six figures for speaking engagements that take less time than a single quarter of basketball.
I think she's either one, if she shows up to somewhere, you're probably paying her $2,000 to $3,000 or $200,000 to $300,000 or it's free. I think she probably does a lot of things for free. Like, that would be my prediction, is that if she wants to be somewhere and she just wants to help out, she'll do quite a few things for free. But if she's not doing it for free, I would say her cost is crazy high.
You heard that right. Caitlin Clark is absolutely dominating on stage 2. Her speaking engagements are becoming the stuff of legend, and the numbers are jaw-dropping. Let's break it down. Clark's virtual speaking fee kicks off at $100,000 for just 30 minutes of her time. In less time than it takes to watch half an episode of a sitcom, she's earning more than most people make in an entire year. And for in-person appearances, companies are shelling out anywhere between $200,000 and $300,000. That's the price of a house in some parts of the country for just one appearance. Clark has already done at least 6 speaking engagements in the past year alone. Do the math, and you're looking at potential earnings in the millions. And it's not just in-person events. These gigs are happening online too, with big-name companies ready to pay top dollar for her words. But why are companies willing to shell out so much just to hear Clark speak? It all comes down to her star power. Every time Clark steps onto the WNBA court, her profile gets bigger. She's not just an athlete, she's a brand, an inspiration, a role model. Companies aren't just paying for her time, they're paying for the attention she commands, the excitement she stirs, and the influence she holds.
It's that time. Harvest.
You guys, everyone wants me to cry today. No way. Oh.
Have you ever witnessed a basketball star tear up over someone else's triumph? Well, A'ja Wilson just did. The WNBA champion was seen in tears, but not for the reasons you'd expect. It's all in response to Caitlin Clark's emotional jersey retirement announcement.
I was like in tears, y'all.
You might be asking, what's all the fuss about? Don't players have their jerseys retired all the time? Well, not like this. Caitlin Clark's retirement ceremony is already setting records before it's even happened. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson's fans are crying foul, suggesting Iowa orchestrated this to steal the spotlight. But what spotlight? Iowa likely didn't even know when South Carolina planned Wilson's ceremony, especially since she graduated nearly a decade ago. We've got the facts, the timeline, and fan reactions that tell a different story. Let's break down why Wilson's tears are flowing and how Clark is once again changing the game for women's basketball. February 2nd, 2025. Don't forget that date, because it's about to become legendary in women's basketball. 2 players, 2 jersey retirements, but only one is stealing the spotlight like a supernova. Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson, both revolutionizing women's basketball in their own ways, are set to have their jerseys retired on the same day. But that's where the comparison ends. Clark's ceremony at Iowa is generating a buzz that's completely overshadowing Wilson's South Carolina event.
Iowa taking on USC and Juju Watkins. Nationally televised game, I believe. February 2nd, 2-2, so it's 22. Everything about it lines up.
Let's talk numbers because they're crazy. The cheapest ticket to see Clark's jersey rise to the rafters is over $700, which is the most expensive ticket in women's basketball history. For some perspective, this price tag is even steeper than the cheapest ticket to an NBA Finals game. And if you're aiming for the best seats in the house, you'd better have a thick wallet, with tickets going for over $8,000. Meanwhile, you can catch a seat at Wilson's ceremony for just $25. No, that's not a typo. We're talking about a price difference more than 28 times higher for Clark's event.
But that is a supply and demand thing, especially in today's day and age where there's no such thing as a sellout, right? Where you can go to any event you want as long as you're willing to pay for it because of the secondary ticket market.
Social media is blowing up with reactions. This isn't just about ticket prices. It's a game-changing moment for women's basketball. The demand we're seeing now was unimaginable just a few years ago. Clark's final home game shattered records with tickets reaching $450. But now that feels like pocket change compared to her retirement ceremony. What's unfolding here is Clark reshaping the entire landscape of women's basketball. She's not just rewriting the record books on the court, she's breaking barriers off it. Clark has become a cultural icon, drawing in fans who might have never tuned into a women's basketball game before.
I'm leading scorer in women's college basketball.
But wait, there's more. This story is far from over. What does Wilson and her team have to say about this, you may ask?
One of the sentiments that was expressed was, oh, it's the same day as A'ja Wilson's. How could you do it? First of all, I remember them announcing A'ja Wilson was getting her jersey retired, but I didn't remember the date or anything. When the Clark news broke, I didn't think about A'ja Wilson. And again, as is the case with Caitlin Clark, this only is going to bring more attention to A'ja Wilson's jersey retirement.
As ticket prices for Clark's ceremony soared, another kind of inflation was taking over: online outrage. A'ja Wilson's fans aren't just upset, they're convinced a conspiracy is at play. But what if the real story is even more explosive than they think? The social media storm ignited with Wilson's supporters crying foul over the timing of Clark's jersey retirement. One fan didn't hold back, tweeting, "Why would y'all retire her jersey on the same day as A'ja Wilson? Are y'all stupid?" This sentiment echoed across social media, with Wilson's fan base feeling like their star was being overshadowed by the Clark phenomenon. But here's where it gets interesting. The timeline of these announcements tells a different story. Iowa didn't just pull Clark's jersey retirement out of thin air. They revealed their plans back on April 11th, 2024. right after the NCAA championship game.
And yes, Clark did get a standing ovation when Iowa's athletics director announced that the university will retire her number 22
that number
jersey.
holds a lot of weight, far beyond my name, and I guess I'm just really grateful, and it'll be a special day when that happens for sure. Thank you. It's been very special, and this place will always be home to me.
South Carolina didn't unveil their plans for Wilson's jersey retirement until October 2024, 6 months later, folks. Wilson's fans are saying they're not Clark fans, so why should they care about Iowa stealing the spotlight with their announcement? Why can't both players be honored on the same day?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with two schools retiring respective jerseys on the same day. But secondly, if you wanted the focus to be on A'ja Wilson, she'll probably get more attention as the second, most recognized jersey retirement of that day than she would have if she had the stage all to herself on that.
So why are Wilson's fans so certain that Iowa is trying to steal South Carolina's thunder? It all boils down to the meteoric rise of Clark's popularity. Iowa's athletic director, Beth Gutz, put it bluntly, Clark's accomplishments have made a lasting impact on the university and on women's basketball. They weren't responding to Wilson's announcement. They were celebrating their own superstar. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why did it take South Carolina so long to honor Wilson? One fan pointed out the obvious. Why did it take a decade for South Carolina to retire A'ja's number? How is that Iowa's problem? It's a fair question. Wilson graduated in 2018, yet it's taken until 2025 for her alma mater to retire her jersey. That's not on Iowa, that's on South Carolina.
And South Carolina waited years and years to retire A'ja's jersey.
The conspiracy theories are running wild, with some of Wilson's supporters convinced that Iowa deliberately picked this date to overshadow A'ja's moment. But let's think this through. Iowa chose a date that aligns with a high-profile game against USC, featuring rising star Juju Watkins, which was already set to be nationally televised. Plus, Clark's jersey has been hanging in Carver Hawkeye Arena for months. Everyone knew it was coming. How could Iowa possibly know when A'ja's retirement ceremony was planned? No one even knew about it until Clark made her announcement. This isn't about stealing anyone's spotlight. It's about maximizing exposure for women's basketball as a whole.
And then there was, Iowa is rushing this. They're rushing, or everything is rushed with Caitlin Clark. No, she just did things faster and garnered more attention and more notoriety and celebrity and celebration and popularity.
Here's what's hilarious. Some fans are actually asking for Wilson to move her date. One tweet put it bluntly, "Tell A'ja to move her date." Then the face of the WNBA is retiring hers. Show some respect. It's a stark reminder of how quickly the landscape of women's basketball is evolving. So what's really happening here? Is this about disrespect? Or is it simply a changing of the guard in women's basketball? The facts don't back up the conspiracy theories. Iowa's plans were in place long before Wilson's announcement, and they're just capitalizing on Clark's massive popularity. But here's the twist. There might be more to A'ja's reaction than just the jersey retirement itself. Is this truly about the ceremony, or could it be a deeper feeling of jealousy? Did you catch the latest? Ben Shapiro just took down Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson over her ridiculous comments about Caitlin Clark.
So one of the bizarre controversies of the last week is Caitlin Clark, who is the WNBA's only nameable star. Here, for example, is WNBA team owner Sheila Johnson. Here she is, ripping Caitlin Clark and the fan base for liking Caitlin Clark, saying it's only because Caitlin Clark is white.
In what might as well be an Olympic gold medal for bad takes, Sheila's claiming that Clark didn't deserve Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year title, basically suggesting that everyone in the WNBA should be recognized. except for Caitlin Clark.
Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing.
You heard that right. This is the ultimate everybody gets a trophy mentality, but cranked up to the max. Shapiro wasted no time shredding Johnson's argument, using his signature rapid-fire style to highlight just how ridiculous her position really is.
You're not putting the entire WNBA on the cover because not everybody can fit and nobody knows who any of those people are. By the way, 31% apparently of the entire Washington Mystics ticket sales this year came in 2 games. I will give you a guess as to which player was featured in those 2 games.
Exactly. Not everyone can fit inside the spotlight, and definitely not the entire WNBA. As for this talk of upliftment, let's not forget that 31% of the Washington Mystics' annual revenue has come from games featuring Caitlin Clark and her team. Are we seriously supposed to pretend Caitlin Clark isn't single-handedly bringing fresh energy to a league that's been struggling to stay relevant?
Look, I'm going to be completely honest about this. I thought what Wizards owner Sheila Johnson said about Caitlin Clark came off as racist. Sheila Johnson is the black billionaire owner of the NHL's Washington Capitals, the NBA's Washington Wizards, and the WNBA's Washington Mystics. Johnson said she did not agree with Time magazine making Caitlin Clark the first ever WNBA player to be Athlete of the Year.
Sheila's claim that Caitlin Clark's success somehow undermines the rest of the league definitely carries a whiff of something darker. It's hard to ignore how that perspective reeks of racism, whether she intended it or not.
And with putting Caitlin Clark on the cover. Johnson said the entire WNBA should have been chosen as the League of the Year and that numerous stars should have been put on the cover. She said the WNBA has a long legacy of black stars and that, and I quote, something clicked with the WNBA last year because of the draft. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's Reese, as in, of course, Chicago's Angel Reese.
Seriously? Angel Reese doesn't even come close to Caitlin Clark, both in skill and popularity. So why is Sheila so eager to downplay Clark's accomplishments? It's almost like she's trying to diminish something that clearly stands out on its own.
Johnson said, and I quote, there's so much talent out there that's unrecognized, and I don't think we can pin it on just one player. When you single out one, it creates hard feelings, end of quote. Johnson said, what's been happening to black players on social media, and I quote, has got to stop, in that, and I quote again, this division of racism is going to tear us apart, end quote.
Exactly. Are we seriously going to stop celebrating a player just because others are feeling threatened or jealous? That doesn't sit right, does it? This is straight up unfair treatment. Sheila should be recognizing greatness, not trying to undermine it.
Johnson is saying to me, the majority of WNBA players are black and have always been black, that basketball belongs more to black players than to white, and that it's not healthy for the league to have a white player featured as Athlete of the Year on the cover of Time. Now, I'm pretty sure if WNBA MVP Asia Wilson had made the cover of Time as Athlete of the Year, Johnson wouldn't have had any problem with that. Just not the white girl.
Absolutely. What Sheila's implying is that we should start picking and choosing who gets praise based on the color of their skin, rather than their talent or achievements. It's absurd on so many levels, and frankly, it's a huge disservice to the game and the players who deserve recognition.
But this person put this on as a quote to this video. Sheila Johnson's worth $850 million, and she doesn't put a penny back into the neighborhood she comes from. Very interesting. She doesn't even come back to her high school to show little black girls that they can become her. My little cousins go to the same high school. They don't even know she exists. Very interesting indeed.
Did you catch that? It turns out Sheila might be guilty of the very thing she's accusing Caitlin Clark of. That's right, she supposedly doesn't do charity or encourage the black kids in her community to become billionaires like herself. Talk about hypocrisy at its finest, folks.
Well, the league has always been woke, has always had an agenda. The league and the sports media, the establishment sports media that is, and they're surrogates. Always, and they pride themselves on that.
It's become pretty clear that the WNBA has a lot of politics playing out behind the scenes. Could this be what's been holding the league back all these years? It's hard not to wonder if these power struggles and biases are part of the reason the league hasn't reached the level of recognition and success it deserves.
But since Caitlin Clark stepped into the waters with the Time magazine interview, it's almost like you're gonna see more people, more comments, more demands. You're gonna see it's gonna be less and less about basketball, what you want to see, and it's gonna be a whole lot of this stuff, because it's like she ripped off another layer of the onion, and this one is a big one. And so now people feel like they can just go all in.
Exactly. Sheila's opposition to Caitlin Clark seems rooted in the fact that, like many so-called woke figures, she's recognized that Clark isn't playing by the usual political playbook. Instead of bending to certain narratives or pushing an agenda, Clark is simply focused on earning her success through talent. And that's something that doesn't sit well with people who expect athletes to follow their scripted roles.
But this, of course, is the Mystics owner that said that Caitlin Clark should give up her Time magazine award and give it to the entire WNBA. Of course, that has now become a running joke, and the mother of all community checks came down here and nailed her. 31% of Mystics' total home attendance for the 2024 season came from the 2 games versus Caitlin Clark and the Fever.
Newsflash, Sheila, sports thrive on competition, not on the equality of outcome. Claiming that Caitlin Clark doesn't deserve to be singled out is like saying LeBron James should share his accolades with the benchwarmers just because of team effort. That's not how greatness works. Individual brilliance deserves recognition, and Clark has earned every bit of it.
It's important that we say, you know what? You want to go all in? You want to go in, people with a lot of nonsense? Then guess what? We're going to go in too, and we're going to expose the nonsense.
Exactly. A lot of these racist attitudes flourish when there's no pushback or challenge. That's why speaking out isn't just an option, it's a responsibility. If we stay silent, we're allowing these harmful views to persist unchecked. It's crucial to stand up and call out hypocrisy when we see it.
What it is. A lot of times, like you, we're just like, we just want to let's just play basketball. But then when they start saying nonsense, like when the owner of a WNBA team, Sheila Johnson, Washington Mystics, when she says some of the stuff like she said that people are talking about today, it's like, okay, you want to play hardball? Then let's play.
Absolutely. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a mythical juggernaut and a cultural icon. She's rewriting the rules of the game, and her numbers prove it. She's not just good, she's the best. And anyone who tries to deny that is ignoring the undeniable facts.